So it finally happened. Crypto bank shuts down, and unfortunately, take a look at this. Crypto focused bank Silvergate is shutting operations and liquidating after market meltdown. And take a look at the stock. I mean, the stock has been absolutely pummeled. It is down. It was down 5-6% today, down another 44% after hours. Basically, there was no path to recovery, and they knew that. Silvergate has been one of the premier crypto banks since 2014, since the CEO got into Bitcoin, right, and kind of turned things around and really made them focus on crypto. And that strategy has worked so far until recently when they decided to invest over $1 billion with FTX. I mean, just think about what SBF and FTX has done. How many companies they have caused to fail. Even some of the biggest companies. I mean, when you're borrowing the billions, it's just hard to recover from that, right? And ever since that happened, the deposits stopped, people start withdrawing, and bank runs start happening, and stocks start collapsing. And basically, Silvergate's like, we can't survive this, right? We just have to close down. Now, according to Silvergate, they will be able to. They will be able to pay all their depositors, right? Basically, they feel like they're not even claiming bankruptcy. They're not even going to bankruptcy. They're just voluntarily shutting down. That's it. They're shutting down, liquidating, paying everyone back, and that is that. That's what it sounds like right now. Do they have a gaping hole they need to patch? It doesn't seem like it right now, but who knows? But right now, it just seems like they've just called it quits, said enough is enough. And of course, this comes after all of its big clients have also left, including Coinbase, Circle, Paxos, Crypto.com, Bitstamp, CBOE Digital Markets, Galaxy Digital, and Gemini all said they are stopping business with Silvergate. And I mean, that's everything, right? That's everything. So all of Silvergate's big customers have decided to stop business with the bank. So of course they're not making any more money, right? So it makes a whole lot of sense that they would do this. And also you have even miners like Marathon. Marathon had this credit line of $50 million, right, that they had with Silvergate, and they put down about $75 million of Bitcoin. They decided, hey, just to be sure, we're going to put that back. Okay, give them back the $50 million, take back our $75 million worth of Bitcoin, right, to be safe. So even from an interest perspective, Silvergate basically was not making anything. So that's exactly what's happened, right? Unfortunately, Silvergate going under is still part of continuation of the contagion that spread from FTX. The reason why this is important is we know Credit Suisse has been in trouble for quite some time. In fact, they just declared last month that they lost a whole bunch of money, way more than expected. We're talking about billions. And now they delay their annual report because they claim they got a call from the SEC. There's some discrepancies that Gary does not like. So that's why they're delaying their annual report. But you know who just delayed their annual report? Silvergate. Silvergate delayed their annual report, and that's when things went downhill really, really, really quickly. So does this mean that Credit Suisse is going to follow and shut down? I don't know. It's too early to make that call. But what I do know is this. Bitcoin was created because of distrust in banks, okay? See, here's the thing. Here's the thing that most people don't realize or understand or refuse to believe. You look at a bank like Credit Suisse, or you look at a bank like Bank of America, or you look at a bank like JP Morgan, right? These banks have been operating for over 100 years. So you figure these guys must really know, right? They must really know what they're doing. They have to be the smartest financial guys on earth, right? To work at these banks. But that's not the case. That's not the case. Banks have failed one after another over time, and a lot of them don't fail because they are bailed out. Unlike a real company, when they have problems, they shut down, right? But the banks, especially the large ones, they do not close down because they're deemed too big to fail, right? So I found this article. This is interesting. It was written in 2015, right? I think a lot of us remember what happened in 2008 when all the banks were failing left and right, one after another. And at that time, there was a TARP bailout of $700 billion, which was at the time the biggest bailout the Fed has ever given out, right? It seems like it's nothing compared to today, because look at how much money was printed the last few years, right? But it turns out that's wrong. It turns out secretly, Bernanke was giving out these banks like secret loans, and a lot of it was not disclosed. So people thought it was just $700 billion, but it turns out it was actually $7.7 trillion. Okay, which may be the reason why Powell and everyone else, thinks that, a few billion here or there is no big deal, because it turned out the U.S. government has done this before, right? I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking how much money is being printed and given out. Yeah. But anyways, going back to my point is this. Most people think that the banks are trustworthy, they're smart, they know how to handle your money, they will never get in trouble, right? That's far from it. We have seen banks go under, and we have seen banks get bailed out one after another, time and time again, right? Because they're deemed too large to fail. But here's the real kicker. The biggest banks on earth, the Federal Reserve and the central banks out there, they're doing the same thing, except they don't need to bail out. They don't need to bail themselves out because they have a money printer, because that money printer can print as much money as they need. So that's the irony, right? That the central banks actually need bailouts too. But, who's going to bail out the central banks? No one, right? So they don't need to bail out themselves. They just print more money. And that's why we have inflation problems.